Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Well, the last thing we'll talk about is, for me anyway, is the NBA draft. So I did pitch this to you last week, Clint, but we're going to go through it again, how I would change the NBA draft. This is mainly going to be for YouTube. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, let us know in the comments section down below if you like the idea or what you would do to change the NBA draft and the lottery. But before I get into my thoughts, we need to change it, Clint. How do you feel about changing the lottery as far as the NBA doing it in this coming year?
Yeah, it needs some updating. It just the thing you came up with last week was pretty good. Was it Bill Simmons? He had another thing on it, like not getting a top 5 pick 2 years in a row or whatever. And I think again, someone made a great I can't remember who his guest was, made a great counterpoint that might actually increase tanking because teams would be like, all right, well now we need to do it for 7 years because we can get a top 5 in year 1, then we can't, and then we can get it in year 3, so we'll just prolong this out. So when you have smart guys, everyone finds loopholes, but there's a lot of smart guys that work in the NBA that need to figure out something better.
Yeah, correct. And my only concern about that too is like what we talked about, which is basically the first 3 picks are the team those are the players you want. So let's say if you're like, again, example, Pistons, they fell to number 5 like 3 years in a row. So they're a bad team. They get number 5. And let's say they never drafted Cade. And then next year they don't get a top 5 pick because of your rule. And then the next year they get number 5 again. You're not giving them an opportunity to have those game-changing players. So that would be a flaw in my opinion in that thought process.
Yeah, and I do think too you might have so for instance, say the Pelicans, if you started this year, the Pelicans suck and they get the 2nd pick.
Yeah.
So then next year, halfway through the year, you're like, the Pelicans are bad again, but they cannot have a top 5 pick.
Right.
So if I'm going to be a low lottery team, maybe I just tank because my pick is going to get bumped up automatically because the Pelicans couldn't be in the top 5. So they're going to get bumped to 6. So if I'm 6, I'm going to get 5, 4, 3. Yeah. I think there's always a subset of some GM that's going to go to his owner and be like, this year, if we tank though, because the 2 teams last year were in the top 5 can't be anymore, we get to move up 2 picks regardless.
And how likely is it that the teams that picked in the top 5 the year before, that more than like you could see that like 3 of them end up in the top 5 and bad teams again. So all you need is then 3 teams are like, oh, 3 spots are going to be open. So let's go for it. Yeah, I totally
let's
agree.
Be the 6th worst team, and then we're going to get the 4th pick.
Right.
By default in a loaded draft. And then, like you said, you get the weird years where you're like, cool, we got Cooper Flag. And the other year you're like, we got Zachary Richardson.
Yeah, correct.
Was
exactly.
it worth it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to throw my idea at Clint. Clint, you had like a week to marinate on it, and then we'll see if there's any holes we can find as we go through. It's an 8-step process. And the whole point of this lottery is we are rewarding winning. That's the whole point of this. I think if you did that, I think more people would be more interested in the NBA and the lottery. Again, we're going to post this on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, let me know what your thoughts are on this form of a draft lottery. Also, if you have different ideas, let us know in the comments down below. Are you ready to do this, Clint, again?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do it again. So picks 1 through 3. We're going to have the 3 worst teams. That's it. The team that wins the most will have the highest percent for the number 1 pick of those 3 teams. So if you have a team that has 25 wins, 23 and 20, the 25 and the 23 would have higher odds to get to the number 1 pick than the one that has 20 wins.
Good start.
Good start. That. Okay.
Because I think those usual bottom 3 are always within a few wins anyhow.
Correct.
And in March, they'll be incentivized to beat each other at least too.
Right. Correct. And here's the thing. Even though what we talked about, there's usually 2 to 3 to 4 bad teams, not tanking teams, like just bad teams in the NBA. And then if you're like the number 4 spot, it's like, okay, can I try to sneak in? I could try to tank to get in the top 3, but it would be hard to do that and keep their wins up, and it could be a little messy, right? So it put it. Okay. By the way, this is going to be 33 picks in the first round. And then, so we're adding picks in here. And our first one we're going to add is the number 4 pick will go to one of the 8 play-in teams that make the play-in tournament in a lottery.
Yes. So at least the Sacramento Kings and Chicago Bulls of the world, they can keep going for it.
Right. So what this is kind of doing is taking those average or below average teams at the end of the year, instead of them maybe trying to bottom out, they're going to try to push up because they could get an extra pick in the draft with that number 4 pick, and we'll talk about another one as well. So really what you're trying to do is trying to get people to push towards the play-in instead of bottom out. Okay. 5 through 7, this would go to the teams that finished 4 through 10 on the season, and that would go in lottery format, 5 through 7 pick.
Yeah. So that's more of a standard section,
Yeah.
which is fine. We're in teams that, even if they tanked it slightly, it's not egregious at this point.
Right, correct, exactly. Okay, the 8th pick also goes to one of the 7 remaining teams that made the play-in tournament.
Yes. So again, you get 2 of these teams, go for it. Make the league loves trades. So again, you're going to have some teams in here that are going to attempt to go for it, make some exciting moves, and they have a 2 and 8 shot to get a top 10 pick.
Right.
Top
Again,
pick, but it's either 4 or 8, but
right, and you're rewarding winning. So you're now again, so it's more incentive for those average teams to push towards the play-in, because they won't get a top 3 pick, but they could end up with an extra 4th or the 8th pick. Okay. The 9th pick will go to one of the remaining 10, 4 through 10. So this is again just kind of natural. The 10th pick will go to whoever wins the NBA Cup. So this is the 3rd and final pick we're adding to the draft. So it incentivizes teams to win. It incentivizes organizations to add a pick to their arsenal of assets, and they can also trade that pick during the season before the trade deadline to a different team, which could help teams like, let's say, the Milwaukee Bucks or some of these other teams or the Clippers or whoever, to push for that cup, to add either a young player or use that to trade for somebody else to push for a title.
yeah, I actually really like this. And even if you got pushback because it's pick 10, even if you changed that and made this pick the first pick after the lottery, so pick 15, I think if it's in that 10 to 15 range is an awesome incentive. Like I could see pushback from teams like 10 is a little too high. Like, let's let some of the bad teams get at least the lottery players. I guess I wouldn't push back about that. But giving the NBA Cup winner pick 15, right? Yeah, 14 teams make the lottery. Pick 15 at a minimum would be great. Like you said, you can talk yourself into pick 15. A lot of guys come out of that range. Giannis was pick 15. Devin Booker was like 13. So you have a lot of guys that kind of, if you have good scouting, and like you said, it gives them an asset in this second apron world that you could trade. Or even if you say they can't trade, it's still the 15th pick, and maybe you could trade one of your other picks for Steppy and rule stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing you could do is just make it every 4. So 4, 8, 12. So the 12th one would be the NBA Cup winner. Okay. And then the rest of the draft is just based on record, the rest of the first round. So we're done with the lottery, just base it on record. And then the first pick in the second round will go to the runner-up of the NBA Cup. So whoever got to the cup but lost, they also get the first pick in the second round.
I like that one a lot too. Again, that way you get there. It's not 4-0. First pick of the second round. Again, you can still get some guys in there. Even without that, those higher second round picks do have value.
Yeah, totally agree. And again, I know this, if you're listening, it's just about rewarding winning. I understand like there's some things that you're like, but the 4 through 10 crowd, but what you want is those average teams that could push for the playoff, not to rest Luka Doncic or rest Shea or rest Victor Wembanyama because you can jump from the 8 to the number 1. You want them to push to the play in, and then they would do that because they don't have an option through 1 through 3, but they do have the opportunity to get the fourth or eighth pick. And I just think your league will be more competitive if you do it that way.
Yeah, and I think with this one, it would work really good in conjunction, like if you limited pick protection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you took away the top 10 or you made it top 12 based on this system, whatever it is, if you took that away, then you're like, all right, well, we can't be the third worst team,
right?
But we could be the last play-in team, and then we have a 2 and 8 shot to get either pick 4 or pick 8. I think you take out that middle ground of, like you said, the Mavs are a good example of like, oh no, we got to rest to get like the 11th worst record, or I think it was 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like the system the more I thought of it, even if you tweaked from 4 to 6, whatever, you know, like you could bump the picks back a couple, and, you know, kind of keep the same basis for it. But I think too often when these discussions come up, we focus on, well, what if Luka gets hurt and the Lakers fall in the play-in and the Lakers get the fourth pick, and you're like, oh, well, how did the Lakers get the fourth pick? And you're like, I get it. And it would bother me beyond all belief if the Celtics or the Lakers or the Knicks had a bad year. But in all likelihood, your team one of those years is going to end up with the 8th pick because Giannis pulled his calf. And you make the play in, and you're like, cool, we ended up with pick 6 for our regular record and pick 8 because we made the play in, or pick 10 and pick 8, whatever. It would equal out. I think we focus too much on like, well, what if?
Yeah.
Well, what if? Like, well, we've been doing it for like 20 years, and then every year we're still like, the Spurs happen to win it with Wemby. Like, we're still doing the same thing, so. Switch it up.
And we talked about it already, where it's like this lottery system that the NBA has right now, it rewards the average to bad teams. I mean, below average teams, I should say. Not the bad teams. You know, they got rid of the 76er model, like you said, but it's the below average to average team that benefits the most, because they get to a certain point at the season and then they just crash, and then they have this opportunity to get the number 1 pick at the 8th spot. Like, it's like they have no incentive to push for the play-in game. So if they actually are like an average team, instead of being like, oh, we would rather have an opportunity at the number 1 pick than getting the 10th spot in the West and just getting blown out by whoever we play, they would be like, actually, if we get the 10th spot, we have an opportunity, a 2 and 8 chance or a 1 and 4 chance of getting one of those 2 picks that are in the top 10. And I could see like 5, 10, 15. That would be kind of interesting too. I just like 4 because you have usually the 3 top players. We talked about it, and then the next one's like a project player or whatever. I just think that's sort of the way I would do it, but I can understand if they want to drop it a little bit as well. But the whole point, no system will be perfect. You got to do the system that's going to be best for your league, and what's going to be best, what would be more beneficial to the NBA than promoting competitive winning towards the end of the season instead of non-competitive losing. I don't know how you want to put that. Like unethical losing.
Yeah, I do like, especially even if you kept it how you have it, that the best record goes to the team who won the most out of the worst 3. Because I do think I mean, again, if someone pulled history, I'm sure you could find an example where there was like an 8-game difference. But I feel like at least 2 of those teams are always like 17, 19, and 21.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, 17 win team played 19 win team, and they just decided who can lose the hardest on April 1st, when if you flipped it and they had to win, I think you would get, how do you want to say, like good reps, but you would get younger guys, some harder coaching because the team is playing to win this game, not like, hey, bring that dude off the bench that probably shouldn't even be on a 2-way contract and let him explore the studio with some post-ups. Like, it makes it a little more real basketball. And I think that is what you're looking for at the end, is not the Pistons or the Bucks playing the Wizards. And the Wizards are like, everyone's out, and we called up 3 two-way guys, and a guy's on a 10-day contract, and
Steve, who sits in the front row, he wanted to try playing, so let's get Steve out here.
Yeah, and then if they get hot from 3 and 10 minutes into the game, you're like, oh, why are the Wizards winning? And then the coach just makes some weird rotation. You're like, okay, that's like painful to watch. And again, this is a fan product, and if you are someone who has Nets or Wizard season tickets, at least at the end of the year, if it's the Nets and Hornets, the tank off is to win the game, and hey, you'll get to see something more exciting than this is ungodly. I can't believe I spent my afternoon here.
Yeah, and you could make the worst 3, like the odds to be heavily in the favor of the one who has the most wins, right? So you could be like 50, 35, 15. Right? Like that you could make it like that. So if you're the worst team, yeah, you'll get a third pick. You'll get the third pick. But you'll probably end up with the third pick. Like, you know what I'm saying? You'll get a top 3 pick, but you're going to end up probably with the third pick. And is it worth that? Whereas, yeah, like you said, you could just see these guys battling. Could you imagine like OKC back in the day when they would like sit Shea for the remainder of the season? They'd be like, actually, we shouldn't really sit him. We kind of have to like, oh, his ankle's feeling better tonight. We need to get a win.
Well, that hamstring got healed fast. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Which actually could help the league identify more tanking, because if stuff like that happened, they could actually see that in real time. So, and they could take action at that moment. Okay. Anything else on the draft lottery? The thoughts? Good?
Yep, that's good system.
Okay.
Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.